Hi everyone, our video today describes our cruise through the southern Bahamas.
We arrived in Matthew Town on Great Inagua Island, then explored the islands on our way north towards Nassau.
Enjoy! Our 2.5 day passage to Matthew Town was mostly hard on the wind until we got through the Windward Passage, and then it was a reach across to our destination. The winds were pretty moderate, as you can see here. It was a nice sunny sky, and it was nice to escape the Caribbean and get out into the Bahamas.
Matthew Town seemed like a very remote and quiet town, but the locals were super friendly and it looked like a fun place to be. We spent a day exploring ashore and visited the old lighthouse that was in a state of disrepair. Sadly, we couldn't stay there for too long as the anchorage isn't very protected, so we set off the following day. Our next stop was Acklands Island, about 80 miles north of Matthew Town. This was another very quiet anchorage where we waited out a short blow. Then we were off again, this time towards Georgetown on Great Exuma Island. As time was against us, we ended up skipping Long Island to make up some ground in our race towards Nassau. Georgetown was completely different, as many cruisers hang out here, so it's a very social place. The Chat and Chill is a popular meeting place for the cruising community. We then moved a little distance north to Monument Beach, where we climbed up the hill to the said monument. It's a sailing tradition to mark the names of your boat using the stones on the beach. Our next destination was Staniel Cay, passing through the Farmer's Cay Cut first, where we spent a night to break up the passage. The next day we continued on towards Staniel Cay, staying in the Exumas Sound, which being on the west side of the islands is much more protected. The colour of the water was amazing. There are several anchorages to choose from at Staniel Cay, so we anchored at Big Major's Island, which is well known for its pigs, which swim out to the boats in the anchorage asking for food. We dinghied ashore one morning to visit the pigs. We were a little bit apprehensive as they are known to bite. However, it was still quite early morning, so they were quite sleepy. But as you can see, they're pretty inquisitive and quite friendly. The nearby Thunderball Grotto is another popular tourist destination at Staniel Cay. You have to duck under the water to get into the cave, but once you get inside, the view is breathtaking and the water is very clear and there's lots of tropical fish. We then exited the grotto and snorkeled outside, and we were impressed with the variety of wildlife and brightly coloured corals, including various sponges and fan corals. After sitting out some squally weather in Staniel Cay, it was time to press on north again towards Nassau, stopping briefly at Shroud Cay and then Highbourne Cay. They both looked like really nice places to stay, so it was a shame that we had to hurry through them so quickly. But time was against us, so we just had to catch the next weather window to get north. Highbourne Cay to Nassau is about 35 miles, and we left at dawn to make sure that the sun was high enough for when we reached the coral reef about halfway across. We nicknamed this area Bombay Alley because of all the coral outcrops, so I was employed up forward to look out for any scary bitey bits. The area is pretty shallow too, as you can see the keel isn't too far from the bottom. As it turned out, we actually had a week up our sleeves before our interview, so we decided to stay a few days at the nearby Rose Island. This was a cracker of a place, particularly on the north side, which had great holding and was well protected from the southerly winds that had picked up during our trip. A few days later, thunderstorms brought about a northerly change, so we moved to the southern side of Rose Island. While it wasn't as scenic as the north side, there were lots of turtles and stingrays. As the day of the interview grew closer, it was time to move in towards Nassau. We anchored for one night just outside the Yacht Haven Marina, before moving in there the next day. We spent the weekend before our interview exploring the sights of Nassau, including the colourful straw market and lively Junkanoo Beach, where we had lunch at a little Lolo shack. Our interview at the US Embassy was uneventful, and happily they granted us our visas. So our final day in Nassau we spent visiting some excellent museums and the art gallery. And here we are enjoying some Hellgood margaritas to celebrate our last night at Yacht Haven Marina. We then headed back to Rose Island and its beautiful coral reefs, and we spent a few days there while our visas were being processed. After we'd picked up our visas, it was time to leave Nassau and head on to our next destination. We hope you enjoyed the video.
Our next video will describe our cruise through the northern Bahamas.
Thanks for watching.
See ya!